Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Packernet Podcast. I'm your host and resident panelist, as always, Ryan Schlip. I just watched them kick the game-winning field goal. I think I'm going to frickin' throw up. Oh, I shouldn't be pissed, but I'm kind of in my feels right now, and I am freaking absolutely pissed. I'm absolutely pissed. You know, I hate to be that guy that whines about the referees, and I know a lot of people are like, well, don't put yourself in a situation where the referees make the difference. Yeah, that's really easy to say when you're not playing an 11-1 football team. Like, oh yeah, just go up 14 points against the number one team in football. Then you don't have to worry about it. Listen, just shut up with that stupid nonsense, okay? Shut up. I don't know if I mentioned it or not. I maybe didn't because it seemed like an irrelevant statistic, but now I'm wondering. One of the other things about this refereeing crew is that the home team almost always wins. It's very odd. I'm talking like against the spread, they are, I don't know, 70 some odd % or something, which doesn't make any sense. I am, that whole game of inches things. And listen, the Packers made their mistakes. Jordan Love had a freaking wide open touchdown that would have put us up an additional 4 points. And instead, we end up losing by 3 because they kicked a field goal. Could have made the entire difference right there. A lot of things that could have changed the outcome of the game. But the amount of just absolutely blatant missed calls, I swear I saw them just push off our guys almost every single time they caught the ball. Just hand right in the chest, turn, and get. I mean, the game sealer essentially was a push off. That's a penalty. I saw Sam Laporta do it twice. Never got called. The penalty against Christian Watson is stupid. Well, it's a pick play, bro. Listen, if I understand if he jumps in the way. I've seen guys do it where they stop and then jump in the way. He literally tried to jump out of the way and there was nowhere to go. And that frickin' moron defender plowed right into him and got knocked over. And because he's such a soft little wuss and went flying, all the flags came flying. But I'm sorry, that's not a penalty. That's a stupid call. The absolute blatant missed holding call when we had a free rusher at the quarterback and he got basically horse collar yanked back, and everybody in the world could see that except apparently the referees. How you don't see the free rusher screaming at the quarterback is beyond me. You're telling me no referees are looking at a free rusher about to smack the quarterback? Because if you saw him, you would see him go yoink and go flying backwards. This is not all about the referees, but in such a close game, and in a game that everybody's pissing and moaning right now, and honestly, I'm in such a bad mood, I'm getting pissed off. I'm so sick of everybody bitching. Oh, we got a soft coach. We got a soft team. Shut the hell up. This was a 3-point loss against an 11-1 football team. So just shut up for 5 seconds, all right? We're weak. We're soft. We got exposed. Exposed as what? This is one of the closest games the Lions have had all year. This is maybe the most points they've given up all year. I understand I'm throwing a temper tantrum just like you are, but your temper tantrum is different and it's pissing me off. My mistake is having X open on my screen. I need to just close that. I don't need to be looking at social media right now. I need to be looking at anything else. People showing highlights and the frickin' Detroit Lions posting their bull crap. That jag-off head coach going for it on 4th down every freaking time. And we stop him once. We make that idiot look like a genius. Their quarterback fell down on 4th down. That should have been it. It should have been over. We should have got the ball back. Somehow we allow them to convert again. Look, it was a tough, scrappy football game, but that's just what makes those little things so much more annoying, because you just feel that the game should have been won. It was in your grasp. So many simple things. I mean, again, it took Jordan an entire half to wake up. The guy played absolute dog crap. And then again, decides to run inexplicably on that last play. And as he's running, okay, you got a guy wide open. Nope, he just drops his eyes, takes off running, goes down immediately. What the hell are you doing? I'm still largely proud of the team. Again, they went blow for blow, toe to toe. The defense did get stops. The offense did pick it up and start going. We had the run game going early. The run game got shut down, and Jordan stepped up, and they started throwing all over the yard. I still think the offense did something unbelievably incredible. Remember, this is one of the top defenses in football. And we're just, by the way, was that 3 weeks in a row we've hung 30 points on teams? And the last 2 weeks in a row, these are defenses that have not given up more than like 20 points in quite a long time. And it is hard to get mad at the defense, although there were some certainly, again, it was largely the freaking third and fourth downs. We kept getting stops, but they were like 4th and 1, 4th and inches every time, and they just couldn't stop it. And we were, the depletions really hurt us. Their depletions did not. Which, by the way, if I'm mad at anybody, it's our freaking offensive line. What the hell are you guys doing? This is a bunch of no-name players, and you can't block? Well, they're bringing extra rushers. First of all, no, not usually. And you got beat anyways. And then even when they did, why is that not to our advantage? Why is it every time we bring a defender and they don't get home immediately, somebody's open and we get killed for it? But when they bring extra guys, they bring 7 guys and Jordan isn't immediately pressured. It's like, okay, it should be there. Jordan, is it there? What are we doing? How is nobody open? I shouldn't. You got to pick your poison, I guess, man, because the way that this game started, it looked like it was going to be a blowout, and I should be happy that we battled back and that we showed that we can go blow for blow with this team. I just freaking hate that it had to be like that. And I'm sure that's everybody. I'm sure that's every time. When you lose by 3 or 2 or 1 or whatever it is, you can always go back and think of those couple times that could have changed things. There's always going to be those moments that could have changed things. But man, it just sucks to wait all week and then to wait all day and then to stay up and watch just the most gut-wrenching thing. And then to keep getting hope at the end of the game. It's like, it's over. Oh, it's technically not. And then it's over. Oh, there's a penalty. Oh, it's over. Oh, they didn't get the third down. Oh, it's over. Oh, they stopped him. Oh, my goodness. Oh, it's over. Well, they didn't make the field goal yet. Okay, now it's officially over. Like, could you have put me out of my misery 20 frickin' minutes ago, for crying out loud? Watching Kingsley Enagbare jump on the pile like a frickin' moron, just begging to get some random penalty to finish off the game. Quay Walker shoving guys. I don't care if he flopped. What are you doing, stupid? Look, I mean, the Lions play an unbelievably clean brand of football. This is more or less what I had said. There were almost no missed tackles. There were no mistakes, no anything aside from that interception. They called the right plays at the right time. Everybody executed exactly like they were supposed to at every single moment. You cannot be the team that makes mistakes. And again, if it wasn't us making mistakes, it was the frickin' referees either making up stuff against the Packers or just letting blatant stuff go over and over and over and over and over again. For crying out loud, we had a sack on the quarterback. Penei Sewell shoves our guy, I think it was Kingsley again, shoved in the back. Isn't there a referee right in the backfield? That should have happened within 5 inches of his nose. Shoved in the back, no penalties. How many of these penalties ended up being 7 points for the Detroit Lions? Are you guys that worried about getting booed in a stadium? Is that why the home team always wins? Because you like getting the applause, you get a rush, you get a high from it? You're a little gun shy because you don't like the boos? Seriously, why are you favoring the home team so much? Again, I hate being this person. I don't generally like to be this person. But man, does that just hurt a lot more to have so many blatant, because it's like, you're not even that damn good. You freaking cheated. Like, oh, Amon-Ra St. Brown is so good. He pushed off. It's the only reason he's open. No, he's not good. He sucks. And he has to cheat and push off to get open. And the referees are right there and don't call it. Their tight end, Sam Laporta. Oh, he's so good. No, he's not. He runs at a guy, shoves him right in the chest and pushes off. Anybody can do that. You think I'm impressed with a tight end shoving a corner and then getting the ball thrown to him when they're open? Oh, and their head coach is a genius because he knows how to say, go for it, go for it, go for it, go for it, go for it. Wow, it takes a real genius. And it just would have been great if we could have not made him look like a genius every time, you know? The one stop was beautiful, but we let, 4 or 5 more go? I don't know. It's just one of those things you sit back and reflect and just think about all those things that if it would have just gone different, the defense actually kept us in the game like the first half. The first quarter, our offense didn't, in the first half almost, we didn't get a first down aside from a penalty. Everyone's screaming, run the ball. It's like, well, it's hard when your first series you start at 2nd and 17, and then the next one you run for 1 yard, you're in 2nd and 9. Sorry, you got to throw in that situation. And Jordan just didn't feel like showing up till the second half. So we're in a bit of a pickle. Not to mention Jaden Reed's dropping passes. It's just say, oh, Christian Watson's fumbling because for some reason, he doesn't want to go out of bounds, which I respect that. You stay in bounds, try to do whatever. Why are you just flailing your arm like that? Why is your arm way up at the sky? Isn't that the most basic thing in the world? They teach you to tuck that thing in tight. Why is your hand up in the air? You trying to get that first down in the sky, bud? I mean, it was a very, very, very close game that comes down to two main factors. One, they played a more disciplined game. Two, the referees absolutely let them get away with everything, including, grabbing a free rusher by the back of the neck, shoving another guy that's about to get a sack in his back, pushing off defenders constantly to get wide open, essentially to win football games, the most critical of situations. There's a lot of things I like about the team, but, I mean, look, let's be honest. At the end of the day, do I think the Packers were the better team and deserve to win? No, I don't. So maybe things worked out the way that they were supposed to, but damn it, they were in it. They were right there, and they were in it, and they could have got the win. But as we move forward, do I still think that this team is continuing to take steps? Yes, I do. A lot of people are going to disagree. No, the defense and If you want to completely disrespect the Lions and say that they're frauds and they're a joke and they're a terrible team and we just got exposed, whatever. You have your freaking little thing over there. I don't care. This is one of the top offenses in football, and they demonstrated that despite the mistakes. Somehow they still came out with this many points. This is one of the better offensive runs that we've had in a long time, and a lot of it does have to do with our run game because the pass game we've seen better, and maybe that's what's confusing about the whole thing. The pass game doesn't seem to be quite where we want it to be, but when you got the backing of the run game, and converting in the red zone was big in this game, and kudos to them for that because that is a big piece of the puzzle. I think that there are some things the defense needs to figure out, but at the same time, I don't know what you want from Zane Anderson and Eric Stokes and Carrington Valentine, who, according to PFF, actually had a pretty good day. Sorry, Blaine, I have to record the podcast. It was getting late. Text me, bro. There's some stuff to work out, and I think that the biggest annoyance I have, number one, was the lack of pressure. If we didn't bring extra rushers, 4-man Jared Goff sat in the pocket all day long. So the pass rush that's been getting there did not continue. In fact, there were only 12 pressures in this game. And this is via PFF, which is subject to change. How many of those pressures came by way of actual defensive front guys? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 pressures from our front four. 5 of them came from linebackers blitzing. 7 pressures from our edge rushers and defensive tackles is not good enough. We're talking what? Mosby and Slayton and Brooks and Cox and Wooden and Kenny and Rashawn and Van Ness and Wyatt and Enigbare. 7 total and 1 sack from Rashawn. The other thing that annoys me, these linebackers getting picked apart in the middle of the field is the second week in a row now. Miami started doing that down the stretch. We had the game pretty much put away, but they started roaring back. And it was just picking apart the middle of the field in front of our linebackers' faces. I said that last week. I kept seeing Quay. They blamed it on McDuffie. Let's see preliminarily what they got here. So Keyshawn was the one that got picked on the most. Yeah, McDuffie again. 9 targets, 9 receptions, and a touchdown for McDuffie. I mean, these linebackers are just getting eaten up. That seems to be the formula. There's no pressure, wide open in the middle of the field. No pressure, wide open in the middle of the field. I don't know what needs to be done. And again, I understand we're in a bit of a bind here. We're depleted. We're down a linebacker. We're down 2 safeties, or 1.5, whatever you want to call Bullard. We're down a safety and 2 corners. It's tough. And hopefully we get Jair back fully healthy. Do not bring him. I don't want to see him until he is 110%. I'm talking about this guy doesn't have as much as a headache. If that dude stubs his toe, I want him out for the week. I need him ready for the playoffs. 150,000%. I need him ready for the playoffs. This was a practice game for the playoffs. That's what this was. It was a practice game, and we lost. Okay, that's good. I mean, not that we lost, but it's good that we got this practice game. Now we get to see what real football's like. Now we get to see what really needs to be tweaked. We got to get the defensive coaches back in the lab a little bit. We got to get our offensive guys to kind of look at it. You know, this offensive line, and I'm not surprised at all to see Josh Myers is the one that's getting the blame the most. But my goodness, there's some really, really bad stuff here. Telford and Sean Ryan also not good. Ben Sims, Josh Jacobs just getting eviscerated. We have 3 pass blocking grades so far below a 30. 2 of them are Sims and Jacobs, but Josh Myers, should save this for tomorrow, but currently, preliminarily, a 5 pass blocking grade. I there's no words for that, man. I don't know what you have to do, but the Detroit Lions figured something out, and they exploited a weakness in that offensive line. That or these guys just didn't show up. I don't know what, but my goodness, that was painful. And the fact that they could bring so many people and we weren't able to punish them. I mean, how many times did they run a screen for 500 yards? Can you not run a screen? If they're going to bring 7 guys, can you not dump off a screen pass? You wouldn't be successful with that? I don't know. I'm freaking running in circles now. I'm just you got your practice and you lost. So we know that this isn't freaking good enough. We know that, you know, right now we're not quite playoff shape, and that's fine because it's not the playoffs. We got to get healthy. I would like Edgerrin Cooper back, please. We have to get Jair back. Evan Williams has been kind of crap, and I think he was crap again in this game too, but I still would prefer him to Zane Anderson, if at all possible. If we can get him back, that'd be nice. We've lost both of our right guards now. We'll see what happened with Sean Ryan. But before we take a break, again, a lot of things just upsetting, but we cannot get caught in these death spirals of pretending that everything we saw is 100% exactly the way that it is. Like, this game is the absolute truth. Everything that happened last week and the week before that and the week before that, that doesn't count. And the fact that everything changes every week, also irrelevant, because what we know now is this is exactly who we are, this is all we're ever going to be, and this is exactly what's going to happen, and so we're not going to win any playoff games because we didn't beat the Lions. It means we won't beat the Lions. Come on now. Let's if that's what we're doing right now, listen, I have to do the podcast, so I'm going to just get on here and I'm going to rant and rave and scream and cry and sound stupid, okay? I'm going to do that. You don't have to do that. Don't go on social media. Don't call into the Packernet podcast. Wait until the adrenaline wears off, and then, then we'll talk about it. Because the bottom line is, again, going to annoy some people, this game was almost entirely irrelevant. It doesn't mean anything. It was a practice playoff game. We're not going to win the division. We're not going to get the number 1 seed, and we will be in the playoffs. We needed to be healthy. We needed to go through this. And we need to get back in the lab. We got an extra period of time here. We finally get our 10 days of rest. And we got not an easy opponent, but a manageable opponent. Another semi-quasi playoff game. But hopefully this is one of those things where this game really was an eye-opener. And I don't mean in terms of wow, we really suck. I just mean in terms of iron sharpens iron kind of a deal. This is a game that's going to toughen you up a little bit. And look, the takeaway from this game, maybe if you're if you're going to piss and moan and whine as a Packer fan, that's your takeaway. But the national media takeaway from this game, coming within 3 points, should not be, wow, the Packers really are frauds. No, these teams were neck and neck the entire game. It's like that whole Lombardi quote. Packers never lost a game, they just ran out of time. Put 2 more minutes on the clock. Guess what? Packers win the game. That's how it goes. We'll take a break. We'll be right back. All right, box score. Jordan Love was 12 of 20, which is not great. 206 yards, 10.3 yards per attempt, 1 touchdown. 59 yards was his longest. He took 1 sack, had a 111.7 passer rating, which is pretty solid. Jared Goff, 109.7. I'm not going through all his bull crap because screw that guy. Josh Jacobs, 18 carries, 66 yards, 3.7 yards per carry, 3 touchdowns. 3.7 also is frustrating because we saw this kind of earlier in the season too, where his yards per carry kept getting lower. And it was really just, it sucked because he had a great day. And then at the end, it was just like 1 yard run, 1 yard run. That's a hard thing. 1 yard run, 1 yard run. Say that 400 times fast. Bet you can't, loser. But it was tough. Slow. We were just running into a brick wall the entire second half. But I thought he did a good job. 18 carries, 66 yards, 3.7 yards per attempt, and 3 touchdowns. Jordan Love was the next most. 4 carries, 23 yards, 5.8 yards per attempt. One of those carries I cannot for the life of me understand. Emmanuel Wilson, 1 carry, 7 yards. Chris Brooks, 1 carry, 3 yards. And that is all she wrote on that. Christian Watson was the most targeted, which is a pretty rare thing. 7 targets, 4 receptions, 114 yards. The fumble was brutal, but he made up for that with his big 59-yard reception. I think if Jordan could have got a tiny bit more air, it could have been a walk-in touchdown, but it is what it is. I'm not certainly not going to complain because we finished that drive. Tucker Kraft, 5 targets, 3 receptions, and a touchdown. He had a beautiful touchdown. I thought he had a really good day today. Hard physical. I mean, you can really see how physical and tough the Lions are when Tucker Kraft is just getting lit up. I mean, he was having a hard time just running through people. He took some hits that were like, holy crap, man. I hate to give the Lions credit, but holy cow, that they don't miss tackles. They just, everybody that touched Josh Jacobs brought him down. Is frustrating to watch. Dontavian Wicks, I'm glad I talked trash about him last week. Because ever since then, it was literally last week, the first play he had a drop that was almost picked, and I said, look, we just gotta stop with this. Not saying he needs to be cut, but like we gotta stop because this is becoming a serious liability. He goes 4 for 4, I believe, after that game, and just had a great day. Now, 4 for 5 in this game for 49 yards. Real good after the catch, like he almost always is. Had a fantastic day. Ben Sims had 1 catch for 2 yards. Jaden Reed, 0 receptions on the day. Very unusual day for him. Didn't even touch the ball. We didn't try to run him or anything. Defensively, Isaiah McDuffie with the most tackles, not surprisingly, because the frickin' football was caught in front of his face all day long. After that was Keyshawn and Quay Walker with 10 tackles, pretty much for identical reasons. 1 sack by Rashawn, tackles for a loss, including, in addition to Rashawn, Quay, Kenny, Colby Wooden. Interception by Keyshawn Nixon. That was a pretty good play. He had 2 pass deflections in the game. Not sure if they're including the interception or not, but obviously that was a pretty pivotal moment in the game. McManus, 4 for 4 on extra points and a field goal he made, so a perfect day from him. Daniel Whalen, 3 punts, 125, 41.7 average. 2 of those 3 inside the 20. As for the team stats, they absolutely dominated time of possession. It's one of the more brutal ones I've seen. 36-23. That's rough. They ran 76 plays to our 45. Just wow. I mean, listen, you also have to understand from a defensive perspective, that is a massive amount of plays. Part of that is their fault. Part of it is the offense, especially early on, just not being able to stay on the field. And then when they did when they were successful, they started on like the 30, so it was like a 3-play drive, and then, the other team has the ball again. Not trying to make excuses entirely, but that is a lot of football that our defense had to go up against. Both teams 7 penalties for nearly identical yardage, although the Lions should have had significantly more. Both teams 4 touchdowns. 1 more field goal, though, for the Lions, obviously. Both teams 1 turnover. I mean, a lot of this was very similar. I mean, they had the ball more and more yards and all that stuff, but when you really get down to it, touchdowns, the field goals, the penalties, the turnovers, it was all pretty close. Completion percentage was not 78% for Goff, 60% for Jordan. We already went over the yardage. Sack percentage, 2.4% for Goff, 4.8% for Jordan, but at the end of the day, it was 1 sack each. Passer ratings were very similar. As a team, Packers had 99 yards rushing, 4.1 yards per attempt. The Lions, one of the more, again, very impressive here. Lions are a very dominant rushing team. They ran for 111 yards, which is very low for them. It's going to be one of the lowest of the season, and just 3.3 yards per carry. Now, again, very frustrating with some of the pass plays, the screen game, the fourth down conversions. It's hard to, it's another thing to stop a team that has 4 downs when everybody else has 3. It just is. But, against the run, they really did a fantastic job, and that is an area where the Packers have significantly struggled. First downs, they had 27 to our 17. They had more passing first downs than we had total first downs. Third down efficiency, they had less than I thought, but considering they went for it on fourth down, makes a big difference. But the Packers were just 20% on third down. That is horrifying. They did not go for it on fourth down. The third down efficiency for the Lions was just 47%. They were 7 of 15, but they went for it an additional 5 times on fourth down and were 4 of 5. So it's more like 11 of 20. Red zone, though, both teams were 80%, 4 of 5. Passes defended, Packers 3, Lions 1. Interceptions, Packers 1. That's about it for what matters. I'm going to read a little bit of PFF's quick little recap here, in part because it exemplifies what I was saying. It's we can certainly sit here and say, "See, you're no good," or you can sit here and look at it and go, "Yeah, these are the 2 powerhouses in the NFL, and that's what we just watched, and that's exactly what it looked like." Here's what they had to say. Detroit Lions kicked off Week 14 with a 34-31 victory over the Green Bay Packers at Ford Field on Thursday evening as Jake Bates kicked the game-winning field goal, presumably they were supposed to write. It was a tight game throughout as both teams showed why they're among the best in the NFC. Both offenses were excellent, averaging over 5 yards per play in addition to scoring 30-plus points each. The Lions improved to 12-1, Packers fall to 9-4. Blah, 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 PFF. Highest graded players, this is going to crack you up, linebacker Ezekiel Turner for Detroit. After that, Carrington Valentine for Green Bay, and then Tim Patrick for the Lions. So they're preliminary grades, but there you go. Carrington Valentine showing up. Let me just say this before we take our second break. As I sit here, again, hats off to the Lions. They play tough football. They're a violent team. They're an aggressive team. I like the way they play. I like the way we're beginning to play, and I want more of it. And as I sit here and look at our center getting a 5 pass blocking grade, what I really want is offensive line. We need corners. We need all that stuff. I want to get some good offensive linemen, man. And maybe we got one in Jordan Morgan. I have no idea. The guy has hardly played any snaps. Hopefully we'll find out next year. But man, I'd love some offensive linemen. You know what I mean? Even if it's, I don't know, maybe we got a pretty good offensive line minus the center. We got the tackles. At least they can pass block. Zach Tom can run block. He had a rough game today. Eldon, maybe. I don't know. I used to love him. Then he got hurt, and he hasn't gotten back. I don't know what his problem is. Right guard, do we have anybody? I don't freaking know. But what if we just went all in? I don't know what that means or what that looks like, but let's get some offensive linemen. If you were building a team, you would build it like the Lions did. You start in the trenches, and then you build around it. But just because we're not starting from the bottom doesn't mean you don't prioritize the trenches. If they're starting to get a little soft, if they're starting to get a little weak, you reinforce it. Yes, I would like to have corner, and I would love to have some secondary, tertiary stuff. Maybe we get another safety or a linebacker or whatever. But I don't know, man. I want the trenches to be dominant. We need to be able to get pressure on with 4-man rushes, and we need to be able to just enforce our will on the ground. And sometimes we're good at that. Today we were not, which is really embarrassing considering what the Lions had at defensive tackle and off the edge. But I don't know. That's just my contemplation as I sit here. Is I want to lean into this team that just dominates up front. Hopefully we see some growth from Edgerrin Cooper and some of these guys. I don't know what we're going to do with Quay. I'm assuming we're not maybe for a cheap contract. I don't know, but we need to dominate up front. I want to be Tampa Bay from, 3 years ago or whatever when we went up against them and just nobody could move the ball against that team. I want to be the Detroit Lions offensive line that just moves people. I just want to freaking move people. With a guy like Josh Jacobs, are you kidding me? If you can create space like that, oh man. I want to be the team where people bring 5-6 rushers and it doesn't matter. Nobody gets home anyway, so they decide what's the point. Man, they brought 5 rushers and Jordan was hit almost instantly. Even if they didn't bring 5, it felt like Jordan had no time. I know you can't just snap your fingers and make these things happen, but it would be nice to really just lean into that. Anyways, take our final break. We will be back momentarily. All right, let's run through a couple of these little tidbits here from Next Gen Stats. You just hit refresh to see if they got any new ones up. They don't. All right, Christian Watson was matched up against Carlton Davis on 8 of his 19 routes, 42.1%. In Week 14, he caught 3 of his 5 targets for 108 yards, 62.5% target rate. Watson was targeted just twice across of his 11 other routes. Watson recorded a 59-yard reception in the third quarter, the deepest reception by air yards allowed by Davis this season. Watson was pressed on 73.7% of all his routes against the Lions, finishing with season highs in targets, receptions, and yards against press coverage. And that probably plays a lot into, seeing the differences and dynamics of who got the ball and who didn't. It makes sense when you're playing press man coverage. Christian Watson's not necessarily the best guy to do that. Maybe if you can knock him off his route, be physical, whatever. But being in tight with a guy that's got speed like that is risky. Also, Wicks. Again, he's got drop issues, but this is a guy that's, first of all, big and physical, so getting in his chest is going to be difficult. I don't know exactly what the press rate was, but assuming this was Detroit kind of across the board what they wanted to do, trying to press a guy that's big and physical and a really good route runner, also complicated. Smaller guys like Jaden Reed, possibly could be a little bit more effective. After completing just 3 of his 7 attempts for 31 yards in the first half with a negative 26% CPOE, completion percentage over expected, Jordan Love completed 9 of his 13 passes for 175 yards and a touchdown in the second half of the Week 14 game against the Lions with a positive 16.7 CPOE. The Lions blitzed Love on 62.5% of his dropbacks, their highest blitz rate of the season. Again, remember, Jordan has really struggled against the blitz. The Lions tried to take advantage of that, but generated pressure on just 33% of those dropbacks, which probably does speak pretty highly of the offensive line when you see such a massive gap between blitzes and pressure rate. Love was able to complete 9 of his 14 attempts for a season-high 160 yards and a touchdown against the blitz, including 6 of 8 attempts for 129 yards and a touchdown in the second half. The Lions generated a 44.4 pressure rate when sending 4 or fewer rushers. That's way too high. Their 6th game in the season where they generated a higher pressure rate on non-blitzes. Again, try to give the offensive line credit because they're able to do a good job of slowing down the blitz, except for the part where when they didn't blitz, they couldn't freaking block. Another major disappointment. Starting in place of injured Taylor Decker at left tackle, Dan Skipper allowed just 1 pressure on 44 pass blocking snaps, which is a 2.3% pressure rate. I'm not even going to read the rest of it. That can't happen, man. Again, you got to just be able to exploit these mismatches, and they absolutely couldn't, and that's annoying. Josh Jacobs forced 7 missed tackles on 18 touches and now leads the NFL in missed tackles forced for the season with 84. Jacobs has forced 32 missed tackles since Week 12, the most by any player in a 3-game span this season. Overall, Jacobs finished with 66 rush yards and tied a career high with 3 rushing touchdowns. He did have a fantastic day. And again, the Lions have done a fantastic job getting guys down. He still had several. And only 18 attempts. Usually it's a bunch of missed tackles, but he had 30 carries or something crazy. But really solid job. I gotta, I'm calming down now, which is nice. The 7 stages or whatever the heck it is, and I'm getting into acceptance now, I think. But I tell you what, man, going back through and just seeing all the penalties, and the fact that I'm not crazy too, because it's hard when you're a Packer fan. But when you've got Packer accounts and non-Packer accounts, and every single thing I'm seeing is, look at these 7 plays that didn't get, and some that I didn't even know existed. When Matt LaFleur was randomly screaming at the refs, and it didn't really make any sense, and they showed why. A very blatant pick. I mean, when you say pick, I mean, Christian Watson was trying to jump out of the way and bumped into the guy. This guy ran up and just plowed into our guy. But I mean, there have got to be, I don't know, a dozen that people have pointed out. And of course, Lions, cry harder. You guys always get the calls, which is always fake to begin with. I've gone over that several times. We've gone through the numbers. The Packers have not been one of the more favored teams when it comes to penalties. It's always been a completely fake narrative. They just won and people whined about it. If you're a Lions fan and you're not honestly acknowledging that this was horrifically called in your favor, again, I will grant you that you were a good team, that you probably were the better team and potentially deserve to win, whatever. It doesn't, that's beside the point. I'm just asking you to be an honest human being and tell me. Saw somebody, there was a hold on so-and-so that was blatant. Bro, there were a dozen, and wildly and massive plays. That penalty against Watson was brutal and took a touchdown off the field, potentially. The non-call against Amon-Ra St. Brown sealed the game. There was a touchdown scored because our free rusher got choke slammed. No way that's a touchdown if we have a defender in his face. 7 points because of a non-call. I mean, these are unbelievably crucial calls that are either being called unnecessarily or more likely not being called. Absolutely terrible. Again, another sack that was negated by a block in the back. There was a call early in the game that I think everybody forgot about where, what the heck happened? It was like the offensive player just completely ran into a guy and they called defensive passing or defensive something. I mean, it's one thing if it's like, we're going to let them play. And then the Lions just took advantage of that because like, they're not calling stuff, so we're just going to cheat the whole game and just get away with stuff, and the Packers are stupid for not doing it. They're getting called for stuff they didn't even do. There's also some pretty serious debate about whether or not that final 4th down should have gone to the Lions because the quarterback went down to a knee. I haven't looked into the rules, but I got Jersey Mike coming in. He's giving me chapter and verse about the rule here. Let's see. When a quarterback in the NFL unintentionally drops to one knee, the official will declare the ball dead and down-ended. This rule is stated in the 2011 NFL rules, Rule 7, Section 2, Article 1C. And sure enough, I'm looking directly at a photo. Jared Goff handed that ball off, the 4th down conversion at the end of the game, from a knee. He was on his knees when he handed that ball off. That is Packers ball on 4th down. Again, maybe the rule's not correct. I don't know, but I'm just. Let's just see what the robot says really quick. So I just copy and pasted what Jersey Mike gave me here. In the 2011 NFL Rulebook, Rule 7 is pretty bad with rules, but let's just see what happens. Section 2, Article 1C specifies that an official shall declare the ball dead and the down ended when a quarterback immediately drops to his knee or simulates doing so behind the line of scrimmage. This action, commonly known as a quarterback kneel or taking a knee, is typically employed to run down the clock near the end of the game or half, minimizing the risk of turnovers. The ball becomes dead the instant the quarterback's knee touches the ground. Defenders are required to recognize this action. So this very clearly is different than the way it was phrased. But see, now I'm going down. Now I'm doing it. Now we're doing it. All right, here we go. This is Rule 7, Section 2, Article 1. An official shall declare the ball dead and the down ended when, and then there's a huge list of stuff. C is when a quarterback immediately drops to his knees or simulates dropping to his knees behind the line of scrimmage. Note, if a quarterback does not immediately drop to a knee and contact from a rushing defender is unavoidable, it is not a foul unless... Okay, so to be clear, as I'm reading this, I'm not really seeing where it's... I mean, these are the words. When a quarterback immediately drops to his knees behind the line of scrimmage. Now, I don't know. Maybe there's just supposed to be a lot of interpretation there of like, well, he didn't mean it. It doesn't say intentional or anything like that. It just says a quarterback immediately drops to his knees. That's what happened. Well, he tripped. Okay, it doesn't specify. Maybe it's not considered immediate because he turned to hand the ball off. But again, you're interjecting words that are not in the rule book because he immediately fell down and went to his knees. It doesn't say immediate and intentional. And I'm sorry, if we're going to get super literal with immediate, I'm pretty sure I've seen quarterbacks not immediately go to a knee. They actually wait for time to run out. They'll run a few seconds off and then take a knee. Should that not count because it wasn't immediate? I'm just asking. I wouldn't mind some clarification because, again, and we can get the refs, oh, no, that's not the rule. Bro, I'm reading the rule. And again, if this is not your intention, if this is not what it's supposed to be, you have to actually change the words in the rule because as I'm reading the rule, I'm telling you, that should have been down, dead, end of down Packers ball. Unless you can tell me what I'm missing here. When a quarterback immediately drops to a knee, and then there's an or, but we don't need to worry about the or because we have this. When a quarterback immediately drops to a knee, well, then what happens? Let's go back up to the top. What did it say? An official shall declare the ball dead and the down ended. Did he immediately drop to his knee? Yes. It wasn't intentional. Doesn't say it has to be intentional. It wasn't a kneel down. Doesn't say it has to be a quote unquote kneel down. It just says quarterback immediately drops to his knee. Right? Again, I'm just asking. I don't know. I mean, I shouldn't, but I'm feeling so much better that really everybody is. We got Philly Talk podcast saying Lions are the NFC version of the Chiefs with these refs. It's funny, too. I mentioned this when I was watching the game. One of the other penalties that I haven't even mentioned here, Jacob Morley pointed this out. He says, they really highlighted St. Brown committing illegal hands to the face and gave him his flowers. I couldn't believe that. They went back and, if you don't recall, Amon-Ra St. Brown went up to Xavier McKinney, if I'm not mistaken, two-hand blasted him in the face so hard it knocked his helmet off. And the freaking announcers are going, oh, look at that. Oh, what a great block. Oh, man, this guy. Oh. That's a penalty, you jag-offs. And where are the refs? How does a guy's helmet go flying 10 yards in the other direction? And nobody saw anything. By the way, there's also highlight reels that hit that Tucker Kraft took. If you remember, he was up in the air when he really took the blast. The reason he was up in the air, Kirby Joseph dove at his knees, like heads down, angling down at his knees. This is the guy, by the way, that Tucker Kraft said has taken out some of his brothers before. He's a dirty player and he wanted to get his hands on him. Now he's trying to take out Tucker Kraft's knees. I didn't really make a comment about the Lions being a dirty team. I thought some of the highlights that people put together, I looked at it and thought, some of those are a little flimsy. I don't know, man. I'm not liking this team too much. I mean, listen, being a physical football team is great. I'm all about it. And I don't care about hitting Caleb as he's trying to run out of bounds. Dude is in bounds. Give a crap. You're in bounds. They're supposed to hit you. That's what they're supposed to do. But you start diving at people's knees. You start twisting people's ankles. You guys are kind of scumbags. And then on top of that, you're committing penalty after penalty. And you're freaking getting away with it. Hands to the face, knocking a guy's helmet off, and no penalty. Also appreciate Emmanuel Acho here. Not my favorite commentator in the world, but he says, Dan Campbell isn't being aggressive, he's being asinine. The risk of turning the ball over on downs was not worth 4 yards. Instead of kicking a 39-yard field goal, you risk turning the ball over so you can kick a 35-yard field goal. If you kick the field goal, Jordan Love has to go 40 yards in 35 seconds with no timeouts, and then the Packers would have to make a field goal, 50-yard field goal, just to tie. If you got stopped, Love can go 40 yards in 35 seconds with no timeouts to win. And he's right. And again, this is what I'm saying. This is why I said to be in the beginning of this, I'm so annoyed that we made him look like a genius because this was stupid. I mean, the fact that we made him pay back on, the 35-yard line, how stupid are you? Why would you go for it there? And he did that a bunch of times, and we should have stopped him more times than that. And by the way, again, not so sure that they should have even gotten that conversion on the last one. Your quarterback fell down. That should have bit you. Of course it didn't. Clayton found another one. They're lined up off sides. The defense is. Guy has got both hands about middle of the football. They didn't see it. How you don't see it, I don't know. You got a guy looking straight down the line. That's, I don't know. Again, I don't know. I don't know. Chase Daniel says, I get Dan Campbell being aggressive on fourth down, but it's getting a little ridiculous. And again, it was. It pisses me off we didn't make him pay. Somebody needs to. And as many people pointed out, this is why they're going to lose in the playoffs. Anyways, guys, I got to go to bed. I'm tired. You guys have a good rest of your day, night, whatever. I'll talk to you later. Goodbye.